Phase Zero, back with you again for another Spotlight interview. I'm Jenna Anderson, and I'm joined today by Perine. And we are
What's going on?
joined by X-Men 97's Jean Grey and Madelyne Pryor herself. She is the Guinness World Record holder for the most prolific female video game voice actor, and she has voiced more Marvel characters than any other actress on the planet. You know, no pressure for us. Please welcome Jennifer Hale to Phase Zero.
Thanks, you guys. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are so happy to have you. First off, what has it been like to see the response to X-Men 97 now that it's not only out into the world, but it's nominated for Emmys? It's so beloved by the fans.
That's how it's been. I mean, come on. It's so amazing. I love this show. I talk about this a lot, but there are an insane number of wonderfully talented people in voice acting, and that includes a lot of really talented women, and a few of us have played Jean, and I'm so friggin' lucky that this is my turn right now on this show. It's incredible. I can't even believe it. It's the greatest. And the cast is so awesome. We have like a cast WhatsApp where we all chit chat about stuff. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, and also, like, this isn't your first time playing Jean, like, right?
Oh,
Thanks to some other
no.
shows and video games. Oh,
Yeah.
exactly.
I have Jeaned a few times. I have Jeaned and Jeaned, and I have dark Jeaned, and I have light Jeaned, and I have done good things, and I have done other things, and yep.
Well, what about her character? It keeps drawing you in, keep getting reeled
Oh
in.
my God. Well, number one, I'm working, which is exciting. Because, we're freelance, right? Like, we're not guaranteed anything. This one is so special because this team, I think you can see it in the show. They grew up watching the X-Men and the other Marvel shows and whatever else they were watching, but they loved this show from way back, and now they're working on it, and it completely shows. And they've brought back so much of the OG cast and crew to work on the show, to be part of the show, and man, just the love and respect abounds. Yeah.
So kind of going off of that, how did you approach stepping into this specific role of Jean this time around, especially considering the fact that you didn't originate the role? Like, did you talk with Catherine at all about it, since she's also part of the show?
Yeah, I did not speak directly with Catherine. What I did do, I was sent specific instructions because I auditioned for it like anybody else. And I was sent specific instructions to refer to her original and then bring X, Y, and Z to it as well. And so that's what I did. And the first time around, we actually recorded the first season a couple times, if not a few times. First, I was like, do I still have the job? And they're like, yes. We're just shifting the tone. I'm like, oh, good. Phew. Because I love this job. And really, I went off of the writing, and I went off of the team's very clear, very well communicated, very beautifully put together vision. That was the driving force.
That is so fascinating. So I have to ask about the Jean Madelyne twist. Both of those characters are so beloved for me. I was so excited to see them on screen. How was that presented to you ahead of time, especially so you could play those early episodes where we don't know yet that they've been switched?
It wasn't presented to me much ahead of time. They keep these scripts locked down, fairly so, I think justifiably so. And we got to that batch of scripts, and I was like, oh, yes. And our head writer was like, I went, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And I want to shout out right now our voice director, because she really is the unseen hero in this equation for me anyway, as a voice actor. And I think for several of us, Meredith Lane, she's the reason that I get to play full out without worrying about how it's all coming together, because she has the reference of the original, like, where's it Jean and where's it Madelyne and where's Goblin Queen? And I can jump into any scene fully and just throw down, knowing that she's there with the guardrails going, oh, that one leaked over into the other lane. I'm like, oh, let's redo it. Thank you. And she allows us to play fully and keeps us just going and creative, and can find some beautiful nuance in there. That job is a really interesting job. I think voice directors deserve so much more credit, because they've got the entire team in their ear or on their Zoom, and multiple people with multiple perspectives. And they're taking all of that and turning it into direction that they communicate to an actor. And they're just the translator for both sides. And I think that's an amazing job, and I appreciate her so much.
Well, that's really interesting, because like, If you're voice acting, were there any tricks to differentiate between the two of them? Like, what was in the keys for you to be like, okay, if we veer too far into one, how do we bring it back? Like,
For me, there are typically I tag on to a key line or a key physicality. With Jean, it's here. Scott, it really lives in Scott. That's where it lives, right? And Goblin Queen, it's not a specific line. It's just like those clothes, like, oh, really? Like, get out of my way. One of those kind of things. Like, I will tear you apart. One of those kind of modes, right? And with Madelyne, it's more the no, it's me. It really is me. She has a slightly different, like, energetic compass point for her. Her key line is not Scott. It's other things. Yeah.
I think there are a lot of comic fans who would agree with you in that
Yeah.
regard. So going off of that, do you have a favorite scene or line read from when Madelyne becomes Goblin Queen? Because it's safe to say you broke the internet with your portrayal. Like, everyone loves Goblin Queen, especially after this show.
Actually, I'm really curious because you guys see it from a totally different perspective. What do you guys have a favorite Goblin Queen moment or line? I'm very curious about that.
Just the entire scene
Yeah.
in the mansion when
Yes.
Scott and all of them attack, that is such a perfect distillation of who she is in
Yes.
the comics. And it's also something of like,
Yes.
I can't believe I'm watching this in a Disney cartoon. So that would be my answer. I don't
Yeah.
know about Aaron.
I mean, the entire everything that happened after you, I guess, broke all the windows, blacked out, completely blacked out. 'Cause we were at the premiere, of the screening in the El Cap, and I'm
Yes.
just looking around with me and Jamie, our other co-hosts, like this is really happening. Like, what is going on? This is amazing. So anything that you vaguely threatened them before
Yeah.
you put your boot on their neck, I kind of remember.
I loved that, and then I loved the scene. I loved it's exactly what I was thinking too, that moment from the window, everything after that, the cruise down the stairs, the shredding of getting Scott and, "You'll bleed too, Dot," that whole thing, and then all the way into the moment where she and Jean start having it out. Like, I loved that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that script, that episode was just like, "Here, you're an actor, have a gift. Oh, thank you. Don't mind if I do. I'm going to eat the whole thing now."
You definitely succeeded. That was a gift to the fandom, and we still thank you for it. So we get some really great scenes in season 1 with Scott and Nathan, both with Jean and with Madelyne. How did you approach that family relationship? Because obviously the Summers family tree is very complex.
It is. It is. Oh my gosh, I can't even talk about it without crying. The whole thing just hurts in such a good way. I'm a mom, so that's where it comes from for me. Like, I just think about that whole thing, just like and there's a line at the end of the season that is a direct lift from the moment my father passed away. And when I heard that coming back at me, I literally hit the floor just crying. I was just like, "Oh, goodness, you writers, you just slayed me just now." Yeah, I draw from being a mom, from, that whole thing. Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
And I mean, the writing is just, it's effortless, this job, because the writing is so good. It's just, and the whole thing, the whole team. I hesitate to name any names because I have not memorized every single person on the team's first and last names, and I don't want to leave anyone out because every single one of them deserves to be just shouted from the rooftops.
The entire fandom agrees. Like, the entire fandom's like, every single person who had anything to do with this, thank you.
Yes.
I have to ask about, when you talk about family, you and Allison's interplay with the sisterhood with Storm in season 1 is really, really emotional and moving. I've seen multiple people say that they're going to get the Mind Your Weather and Weather Your Mind exchange tattooed on their bodies.
Yeah.
How important was it to honor that as a performer?
So important. So important on so many levels. I mean, this is the joy of doing a series that's a revival of the series from the 90s, because I've been in this business for a minute, And I remember when we were lucky to have 3 lines in an episode, and they were lucky to have 2 women in the cast out of a cast of 12. It's so nice to have representation. It's so nice also to have emotional representation and to have women shown having each other's backs, and to have that part of their relationship was so beautifully illustrated there. Just so beautifully done. Um, it's a joy. It's an absolute joy. And I just hope that it sets the bar for everything, everywhere, all the time. Yeah.
I have goosebumps. Oh my gosh, I loved it.
Yeah.
So there's so many other great relationships in season 1 between Jean and between Madelyne. Are there any that you were particularly fond of? I know we get some Wolverine moments, we get some Charles moments. Are there
Oh
any that
my
really stood out?
God. So many. I mean, for me, that episode 3 with the whole thing with the baby and that was just, super challenging as an actor and really gratifying. That relationship with Storm. I live for the moment. I hope. I don't know what, I'm not on the writing team, but I live for the moment when Storm, Rogue, and Jean all come together, and Jubilee gets in there with us and the women come together to make things happen. Not exclusive of the dudes, but there's a lot of sort of unconscious extra dude time because it's the nature of entertainment right now. And it's really nice to see when the women kick it in as a team. That I love. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Speaking of favorite moments from season 1, do you have like a favorite moment? Do you have something that you can't believe you were a part of from?
Yeah, episode 3. Episode 3, I was like, "What? What did I just receive in the gift mail?" Yeah, just getting to be Jean, Madelyne, Goblin Queen, to have an episode where you spoiler alert, lose your child. As an actor, these are massive moments to bring to life and very cool. And I will say that moment from the last episode where spoiler alert, Jean and Scott are sitting there with Nathan and, the bit with the eyes, the "These are yours now." That's my father said that to me as he passed about our hands, and that was like, whoo, gets me still.
That scene was so
Yeah.
beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Jesus, it killed me.
So we know that you can't say much about season 2, if anything, but we did get to see early footage of G23. It looks amazing. Is there anything that you can tease kind of about Jean's journey and how you're approaching playing her in this new season?
All I will say is buckle up.
Okay.
I can tease nothing. Nothing. It's funny. I make it a practice not to say a word about anything. I don't even mention that I'm in something until I see the producers and the creators mention it online. Then I'm like, okay, yeah, they said, yeah, what they said. I just don't do it.
Totally understandable.
I don't do that. I don't even risk it. I don't want to be the one who screwed the thing up.
Our
Mhm.
fans gonna read so much into that chuckle, you'd have no idea because it
Yeah.
could be good or it could be bad.
Keep reading.
Exactly. How do you think your Jean Grey would fare in the main MCU? Are there like any other Marvel heroes or villains you'd like to see her meet?
All of them. In fact, I'd like to see her in charge. I'd like to see her running a mission, because I mean, think about it. Jean is the expression of the emotional life of so many, of this group of Marvel characters, right? She's the heart, and she's got to step in and hold things together in so many key moments. So yeah, she's just born for it. Come on, put me in charge. Come on, go ahead.
Perfect answer. Sign us up. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on Phase Zero. And again, congrats on the success of the show. It has been so much fun, both to watch and talk about on the show and just be a fan of. So
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, everybody at Phase Zero. And thank you to the community out there. Thank you so much, you guys. Because you're there, we get to keep doing this. And we will do it to the best of our ability to give you the most joy we possibly can.